Are you ready? For September? Because it's coming. Here he comes. Draw your bow. Smoked him, man. Welcome to the next installment of the School of September series, brought to you by the Western Huntsman Podcast, in conjunction and partnership with Phelps Game Calls and Spree Extreme Mountain Gear. Elk Hunting 201. Class is in session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of School of September for June of 2021. I know that it is July, and I'm behind schedule for getting this out and released and all that, but it's been quite a few weeks for us, so I'll explain that in just a minute. But welcome. This is going to be a really good episode for you guys. I'm really excited to tell you about it, and I have got Durham the Bugler on, and I have got Trent Fischer from Born and Raised Outdoors, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But so I just wanted to tell you that kind of what we did and why it's been such a rough couple of weeks for us. So you know, if you've listened to this, that usually I say this is Jim Huntsman coming at you from the Broken Time Studio in Hayden, Idaho. Well, now it is Jim Huntsman coming at you from the Broken Time Studio in Clark Fork, Idaho. And so we have moved to the mighty Clark Fork Valley in North Idaho. We sold our house, and we sold almost everything in it. I mean, we sold the beds, the dressers, the couches, TVs, fridges. We sold everything, all our furniture, and sold the house. We picked up everything. We bought a fifth wheel, and we bought 26 acres in the mountains up here in North Idaho. I'm about 7 minutes from Montana, and I don't know, just kind of right on the border of Montana and Idaho. It's really cool spot. We've got the Clark Fork River kind of to one side. We've got rivers on basically all sides of us except for one, just to the south of us. It's nothing but mountains, and access to some of the most amazing national forests that you can imagine. And the little town of Clark Fork is just spectacular. This has been a dream of my wife and I's for a long time. You should see the elk rubs on this property. I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. We moved out here. We kind of wanted, this is, like I said, this has been a dream for a long time. We wanted to live kind of more remote and further away and secluded in a lot of ways. Our closest neighbor is about a mile away, and you know, ironically, I've got much better phone service and internet out here than what I did in Hayden, and that's just because of the nature of the landscape where my phone can. They put this cell tower over in Clark Fork, and we pick it up pretty good. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think the podcasts are going to be a lot faster and easier to download. Which again is really funny because we're a lot more remote. But our goal, you know, we've got our two daughters here at home, and they are 10 and 12. And if you guys have been listening to there's a new podcast out there called Bear Grease, and it's with Clay Newcomb. And Clay is a really interesting guy. He's a really good storyteller. If you guys haven't heard that podcast, you should check it out. But he says something in the intro that applies to our situation and why we kind of made the choice to move out here. And it's something I've been saying for a long time. And what he says in the intro is living life close to the land. And that really speaks to what our goal was, my wife and I, what our goal was with this and raising our kids out here. And just living, like I said, like just close to the land, close to nature. We've got everything on this property. We've got elk and bear and deer, and where we're located, we are just in kind of the middle of all this access to all this public land, where in like 3 minutes I could be into the national forest and hunting elk, and just experiencing all that has around us. And it's been a big deal, a super important thing, and a quite the juncture in our life. But that's also why it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to release a podcast. So I appreciate you guys bearing with us while this has been going on, and we are really excited. I'm going to tell you guys more about it in other episodes, and we're going to do some like YouTube videos on it to just show what we're planning to do and how we're living out here. Currently we've got no power. I'm running 2 different generators. We've got no water. We're waiting for we are on the schedule for a well to be installed. There's just, we're literally, it's like we're camping, and other than this big ass fifth wheel we bought, definitely not something I'd take hunting or anything, but it's nice. It's got all the space and, all the bells and whistles and whatnot. So it's going to work out until we build, and we're going to be building probably next year, before the house goes up. But the house is definitely in line to be installed out here, and so we're gonna be doing that. It's just gonna be quite the adventure. The kids are involved. We've got all sorts of stuff going on out here. I bought a John Deere tractor. Pretty excited about that. I've been cruising around that, kind of getting the property leveled out, and where our building site is, I've had to clear that out. And man, I tell you what, I underestimated the amount of dust that comes out of that when you clear all the ferns and all the vegetation out, how dusty it gets. So I've got like 20 yards of gravel coming in to help get that under control. Anyway, I can go on and on. I could probably do a whole episode talking about our goal and what the lifestyle we've chose to lead out here and change from living. It's not like we lived in town before. We were just outside of town on 5 acres and had all the, we're close to all the restaurants. We could actually get like Uber to deliver dinner, and no, it's not Uber. What is that other one? Grubhub. That's what it was. That's what we miss, Grubhub. But that's okay. So this episode, let's just get into the episode here, because I think that's the exciting part. We've got September is only a couple of months away. We've got July and August. Some of your seasons open in August. I know you listeners down there in Utah, you're looking at like mid-August, I think, is when that season. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so September is coming quick, and if you're not excited, you're listening to the wrong podcast. I actually can't believe how close it is. I don't know what happened since last September till now. All of a sudden, I found myself on this bare piece of land living in trailers, and September's just around the corner. So we're gearing up. You guys know the idea behind School of September. And this episode, I brought in some of the best elk hunters, 2 of the best elk hunters that I know, and they agreed to come on together. And the reason I did that is because they're just super entertaining. They've got like this charismatic connection. And if you've ever watched the Born and Raised Land of the Free series with Trent, when they bring on Dirk, and he's hunting with them, and they've just got this really fun, entertaining connection, and that's kind of the purpose with this. But we go through all sorts of different tactics, strategies, recommendations, advice, hunting tips, all that kind of stuff that is normal for the School of September. So with that, guys, let's get right into it with the School of September for June 2021, released in July, with Dirk Durham, the Bugler, and Trent Fischer from Born and Raised Outdoors, which, by the way, guys, if you have not watched the Land of the Free series, this episode and all these School of September episodes, we're kind of touching the surface. But if you really want to get a true experience, if you've never elk hunted before, to see what kind of a grind it is, and have, it's not just educational, because it's meant to be entertaining, and it really is entertaining. These guys do a great job over at Born and Raised Outdoors. I've been big fans of their platform for a long time. I've watched all their stuff. And if you haven't seen him, you really should go check him out. If you want to learn about elk hunting, you'll love the series. If you want to just be entertained and watch really good hunting content, go to Born and Raised Outdoors on their YouTube channel, and I'll put all their stuff in the show notes so you guys could check it out. So Trent is just one of the founding members of Born and Raised Outdoors, and him and Dirk have become really close and really good friends over the years, and so I'm excited to get them on for this episode and introduce them. Without further ado, guys, School of September with Dirk and Trent. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this installment for June 2021 of the School of September. You guys are going to really like this episode. I really put my thinking cap on for this particular episode and thought, you know, what would be super cool, two of the biggest authorities in elk hunting out there, to get them on together. Because if you've ever seen them on video together, they're a hoot, they're a ball, they'll make you laugh, and they teach and educate elk hunters everywhere. And I'm really looking forward to this one. So, guys, give it up for my friend Dirk Durham, the Bugler, and Mr. Trent Fischer from Born and Raised Outdoors. Guys, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here.
Man, I feel like that was like a stadium intro. That was like a stadium intro.
You know, like we were talking, I probably should say something about the echoiness of my voice. I'm in the Broken Time studio, and those that listen know that we're moving out. We've got some property up north. And this is my last night in the house, and the last episode we're recording in this studio, but everything's out, so it's not soundproofed. It sounds like I'm in the Coliseum.
Well, Jim, I thought you were kind of going with a theme here. It sounded like when people say our names right before we walk out with our capes on, the wrestle, and, the crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild.
I got talked into that one. I got talked into that one.
Let's see. It sounds. I can do the sound effect without even pushing a button. On the left, we have Dirk Durham, and on the right, Trent Fischer. Sounds pretty good, right?
Man.
Yeah, not bad.
It's not terrible.
You might stick to your day job.
Yeah.
Dang, man, that hurts. Now, like I said, I appreciate you guys joining me and for those of you just tuning in for the first time for School of September episode, just a quick rundown. The School of September are bonus episodes of the Western Huntsman podcast that we put together that are just specific to elk hunters in September. And Trent, I'm sure everybody listening in knows who you are on this. Dirk, you are a frequent. I should send you a T-shirt because you're like a frequent flyer on this show. And
legend.
He is a legend. He's a legend in his own mind. And I don't know what to tell you other than Dirk, you got me in trouble with my wife, man.
I'm sorry.
No, not really, but she did tell me after that bear hunt. She's like, "You're lucky you got home earlier. You and Dirk would have had some explaining to do." And I'm like, "Oh man, jeez,
man, Mama Bear's not happy."
No. Apparently you don't go hunting when you're trying to move out of a house. But anyway, Trent, why don't you give us a quick snapshot of who you are, just in case anybody doesn't know who you are, and we'll take it from there, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what that even means, but we started a company in 2007, and it's called Born and Raised Outdoors, and we just started to film all of our stuff, everything that we did. We started out in the Roosevelt Woods in the western United States, and and went from there just because we wanted to see videos, and Roosevelt videos. We'd never really seen that, videos that were put together of Roosevelt hunting. And anyway, that just morphed into the next thing. And then fast forward to now, we have a YouTube channel and done a lot of elk hunting, a ton of elk videos, whether it was, just in Oregon here in the Roosevelt Woods or in the Rocky Mountain all states involved as far as that goes. So we've just been super blessed.
I got a question for you.
Man.
Okay, so it's 2007. I've always been kind of curious, and I'm sure you've described this at some point, because you guys put out a lot of content, and there's a ton out there. And I'm just curious, so it's like you and Cody started this thing, is that right?
Yes. I mean, we started full time. This whole thing's been morphidized in 100 different ways as far as that goes. Me and my brother actually had this idea years and years ago, and about just doing, but we didn't doing the footage wise, but we just didn't have the capabilities. Cody, he was right in at the same time, and Cody was the brains behind the whole operation that actually put it to life and actually produced the footage as far as that goes, and then also hunted in the footage. He's an amazing hunter as well. But yeah, it was a team. The whole thing that I guess that I could say about us as a group is we've been a team from day one, and work from there.
Yeah, and I guess that's what my question is like it's 2007, like you and Cody are sitting around maybe having a beer or something. Like, what was the conversation? Hey, let's start because it was like before YouTube really got,
So 2007, if you want to hear the conversation, was we need a camera. We're hunting all the time. We hunted every single day. So we all had full-time jobs. And that didn't change until just a few short 4 years ago. So, I mean, from then we all had jobs. And so I'm cutting trees every single day. And it's one of those things where it's like everybody has their own job. What do you guys think about just trying to do something on footage to pay for our hunts? And I'm talking just in Oregon. I'm not talking out of state. I'm talking just to afford our hunting bill. That's all I'm talking about. And trying to do a DVD. Back then, DVDs was the kicking thing, man.
Yeah,
it was
man.
a real deal. So anyway, and so we looked toward Trevor because Trevor got a school loan for college. None of us had money at the time. And so Trevor had a couple extra dollars laying over from his school loan, and that bought our first camera.
Man, so, I'm glad I'm not the only one that blew some college money on something other than college.
Yeah. So that was that. That's where that started out. And then we afforded our next cameras through that, and then afforded our next season. And then it was years later that we could actually afford to actually hunt out of state just through DVD sales. And then we got at all the archery shops, and it started becoming a thing. Born and raised started to become a thing. And then anyway, it just kind of progressed from there, and then into YouTube. After meeting Hushin, honestly, they said, you need to do this YouTube thing. And we're like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then we did. And now it turns out a DVD player, not a lot of homes have them.
Dude, you want to know how old I am? I keep talking about how we're moving. I just packed up a VCR, and a bunch of VHS tapes, and I'm going to hold on to them because they might
be worth something.
Yeah, right.
Those might be worth something.
A few years down the road. But
no, it's a different deal, man. It's amazing how it's morphidized into what it is.
Well, it's crazy because you guys were like the first ones to put this day by day, and I don't know if you're the first ones ever or whatever, but the first ones that really caught my attention. That. Yeah, and I remember when it came out, and it's this Land of the Free series, and I'm going, what is this Land of the Free series? I got to check this out. And it's an amazing thing, because what it does is it could take somebody that sucks at hunting like me, right? And you could sit and watch this day by day thing, and it's like you come out of this thing with a whole different perspective as to, because you guys show the good and the bad. And Dirk, you've done videos like this where you guys just show the good and the bad. It's not just a bunch of bullshit that you see on like the Sportsman channel, right? We're baiting deer in Tennessee, and the big buck walks out that they have a name for, and they've known him for 20 years, or well, not 20 years, but you guys know what I mean. They know the deer, they know, and they're just, it's just not very dramatic and not very realistic, I guess, in a lot of ways. So it was, I think a lot of people attached onto that the whole concept of this day-by-day hunt. You're showing the ups and downs and the pain and the miles you're going and the bugling and all this stuff, and then finally somebody's successful in the group, and it makes sense. It's realistic. It's relatable. And so, I mean, kudos to you guys, man. I mean, that was a killer freaking series, and I think that's why so many people are like just endeared to you guys. So, Dirk, how did you meet Trent?
Oh man, I met Trent the first
strip
time
club.
Strip club. In
Male strip club
in Coos Bay, Oregon. Trent was working the pole. I was on center stage, and I'm like, "Hey, I need some money, some help over here carrying over some money." And so he was, befriended me. But
shoot.
No, I think the first time I ever met Trent was at Bogus Basin. There was a Steve Speck put on a bow shoot up there, and met Trent and Cody and the whole gang over there, and we sat around there one afternoon in a shady spot and said, "Yeah, we should go hunting someday." And that must have been, I don't know, 2012 probably.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably right in there.
And then, but we didn't get to hunt together till. What was Land of the Free 1.0? What year was that? 2017?
Yeah.
So
man, that's crazy.
I know,
took us a lot of years to get together, but
yeah.
It's crazy.
And I remember actually having meetings with you at Bogus Basin. Now that you actually say that, man, that just escaped my memory. But yeah, and like sitting down and being like, what can we do? How can this all work out?
Help me help you.
Help me. Help you. You know what I mean? Right to your face.
It's just people helping people.
It's people helping people.
That's all it is. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Now, what I think what is super cool is you guys. Again, I already talked about, like, you guys just have this thing between you. You could tell that you both, outside of just being lovers or whatever.
It's called a bromance.
That's a strong word, and I love it.
A bromance. No, you guys had like the most famous scene ever, I think, on YouTube, where you're painting each other's faces, and you got these lines going back. And, if this is wrong, I don't want to be right, and quoting all these movies. And
there was premeditated stuff in that, which I did not have in my head. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest right now. No,
so Dirk planned it out, and you didn't. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah.
I got it good.
I guarantee you, and you can ask Dirk right now, and if he says no, he's a liar, that he had that already schemed in his head for months.
100%. 100%. I've been waiting for that day for years. It's just kind of like, it was like prom night, 1987. I knew what I was going to do.
87 was a great year.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I honestly think it's when you come across somebody and you have those same clicks, right? You quote the same movies, or whatever it may be, and you hit it off like that. I think it's a friendship that is never going to be broken, and I think it's one of those things where it's just like, man, this is someone who I can hold dear, and that's the way me and Dirk pretty much started out from that first hunt, and then it unfortunately escalated from there.
It did escalate. and that's what's cool about the whole thing, man, is you guys both have these super likable personalities, and then you get you out in the elk woods, and you guys are like just killers, and it's such a perfect combination, and that's why I'm excited to get you guys both on for School of September, because we got a lot of listeners on this that they're going out for the first time, or maybe they've been going out for several years and have yet to notch a tag. And the point with the School of September is every great elk hunter has their own unique style and method and way they hunt elk. And what we're doing is we're getting all these experts on the show, and everybody can kind of just listen in and pick and choose what works for them with their personality and their style of hunting and what they feel like would be workable for them. So anyway, that's a long way of saying is each episode is like a tool that elk hunters can put in their toolbox when they're going out in September. and it's real specific to September. And
That's
I want to
awesome.
hear from both of you guys on this question. Dirk, why don't we start with you on this one? Tell us what September elk hunting means to you and why it is such this thing in your mind that draws you to the woods every September.
To me, elk hunting in September, it's life. It's life in itself. Growing up in school, I was never good at anything. I wasn't like an A+ student. I was not an athlete. My folks didn't even let me play sports. And it was my only outlet, and it was like the only thing that I like that gave me hope every year to to just keep on going. Some people hold all sorts of things that it's their motivation, it's their why.
Mm-hmm.
And ever from the age I was 15 years old to now, it's my why. And to do what I do, whether it's try to be a good husband or a good father or earn money or whatever it is, it's my why, I guess. And that's basically what it means to me. I never really wanted to do really anything else in life other than hunt elk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
some people have these lofty goals of making lots of money or becoming famous or whatever. And I've never had any inkling for any of those. I just wanted to hunt elk. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're in good company because I only cared about two things: hunting and music, and those were that was my life for the longest time. So I know exactly what you're saying, and talking about the why is, it's lost on so many people, and that's the nice thing about hunting is it actually gives you this legitimate why, and like a defining identifier for a guy or a gal. I'm super careful. I'm trying not to say just guys, dudes or whatever. But for a guy or a gal,
real careful there, buddy.
Yeah,
real
dude.
Careful.
I've gotten some nasty emails, and
Dirk identifies as a lot of things, and you need to be real careful.
I know. I'm trying to not be super gender specific anytime I have the bugler on. Trent, how about you, man?
Oh man, elk hunting started out for me as just this goal, right? Killing elk, and this was back in the wee infancy of elk hunting, and then it's progressed, and it's actually morphed out into a whole bunch of different things. Like right now, I started out rifle hunting, and I'm actually getting back into rifle hunting for elk, and so the September side and calling elk, there's going to be never anything like it. It's one of those times, those magical times that it's just like, I always refer back, I guess, to like the first bugle of the season. And as I get older, which I'm an old man now, my son just got his permit. Wyatt just got his permit just the other day. Yeah,
his driving permit.
Yeah, his driving permit. Yeah, it's crazy.
Holy cow.
It's crazy. but not to just off topic this thing, but no, it's just looking, you see that, you hear that first bugle of the season or something of that nature, and you look at each other, and to me, it's that look like, man, it's September. We're back out here again, and we're doing it, and it's going to be a grind. It's going to be it's going to be hard. It's sometimes not going to be fun, and but that is elk hunting to me. And anyway, it's different on every trip. It's different with every person that you're with, but at the same time, it holds that special place. Yeah.
I got a question for both of you guys, because I love that answer. But with a lot of elk hunters, they go out and they give it hell, and they try, they do what they can, and what is the success rate again? Like less than 10%, right? For September.
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's around 10%, 10 to 12%, depending on what state you're in.
Yeah. I think that's about what it is. So like,
if you're hunting Roosevelt's in Oregon, it's somewhere around 6.3, somewhere there.
Yeah. And that's kind of it kind of speaks to, there's a lot of elk hunters out there, right? And so when you're really boiling down to actually how many people are notching tags. What do you guys think is like a bigger hiccup? Is it the Doug Flutie's out there, or is it the elk hunter making mistakes himself? And there's a reason why I'm asking this.
Dirk, I'll let you hit that one first.
I feel like it's kind of like the wallflower effect. I feel like it's just like going to the dance, going to prom. Remember, don't want to ask the girl to dance, and don't want to like just put yourself out there and try real hard. Just go. It's nothing ventured, nothing gained. Playing the safe play every time. I feel like there's a ton of people who play it safe year after year because they're like, oh God, I finally heard an elk bugle. Oh, don't screw this up. And they kind of wait in the wings a little too long, or they're afraid of like screwing it up. So they kind of hold themselves back, which, I mean, I've felt that way a lot too. Like, especially you see a big bull or you hear a big bull bugle, you're like, oh God, it's hard not to get that little feeling like, don't screw this up, buddy. But I always have to revert back to, you can't win if you don't play, or you can't win if you don't play, right?
Yeah.
And I just jump in with both feet, and I always figure I'm either gonna kill him or scare him real bad. So,
and I'm glad. Okay, I'm really glad that you didn't blame Doug Flutie, and because you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but Doug is a personal friend of mine.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a personal friend of mine, and he wanted me to ask if you blame unsuccessful seasons on Doug Flutie or not, and so I decided to ask that question, and kind of, he's my friend. I made a promise to him, and he also sent me a song that somebody wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He sent a song, and what he did is he sent it as
he can
demo.
write.
Yeah, well, I don't know who wrote it. It was one of his other friends, and
Guaranteed he can't write.
no, I don't. I think he had. I think he had his cousin write or something along those lines. But the point is, he sent me the demo, and he said, I either want you to record it because he knows I'm a past, musician that was trying to make it to the big time and failed miserably. Because I hit a skunk in my tour bus one time and it derailed my whole career path in the music business. But the point is, he chose me to record this song for him over Ted Nugent, and he wants me to play it for you guys. You guys want to hear it?
Oh, I'd love to.
And then I want to get your feedback after, and let's just go ahead and play it if you guys are good.
Okay. Yeah,
I've got time.
Flutie is a man that I thought I knew well, until I learned about his roots and nothing rang a bell. You see, his nephew's his brother, his grandpa's his ma. It gets real confusing when you're talking about his in-laws. But then one day he told me and it started making sense. I'll never forget when he looked in my eye, and then he said, she don't feel like my sister when I kiss her. She don't feel like she's my next of kin. It don't feel like my sister when I kiss her. Oh,
wow.
I don't feel
this took a real turn. Took a real turn, Dirk.
The Flutie family's really close. All right.
When I'm far away, I think about the words that Flutie said. He can blow a flute, and probably you, if you have an
Flutie family runs deep.
She don't feel like my sister when I kiss her. No, she don't. She don't feel like she's my next of kin.
I think I've got the writing on the wall why his country music career didn't take off.
Yeah, I'm starting to figure it out too.
I'm kind of starting to see that.
Wow.
I mean, what do you think?
I don't know, what do you say? I mean, he's from Arkansas?
I mean,
So things
That's
are
not
out of
a
the
lot
bag
to
with
say.
Flutie. I mean, it just happened.
It did do that. It did do that.
Dirk, I promised you
in-
I'd have a Doug Flutie song for you here shortly.
That was impactful. I'll tell you right now.
I'm pretty happy with it, actually, because to be honest with you, I haven't touched a guitar in months. And I pulled that bad boy out and kicked it off.
Wow.
Not too shabby, right?
Yeah, I'm
not
impressed.
too shabby at all. I can't believe the music career didn't take off from there.
I can't believe it either.
I'm shocked.
I don't know why.
I'm shocked.
What does holding a note have to do with anything?
No, you sounded great. You sounded great.
All right, we better get back to talking about elk hunting. I want to talk about. I was joking around with that question, but if we're getting serious and kind of talking about the I don't know if you want to. I hate the word nuances, but some of the nuances of elk hunting and some of the biggest things. Everybody talks about what you need to do to be successful, but not a lot of people talk about what you don't need to do. So Trent, can we start with you and talk about? What do you think it is in your mind? Because actually, Dirk made a really good explanation there as to what he thinks, and people kind of not being. Dirk, would you say aggressive is the right word? Not being aggressive enough, or
yeah, absolutely.
When they hear a bugle.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, so Trent, how about you? What is your take on why a lot of tags don't get notched?
I think people are scared of failing. And it kind of just keys on a little bit of what Dirk was saying. I have, so many times that people, I think they think that we just blow on that bugle and do that, and they just come running to us. And I don't think they know how many times that you say something wrong to the herd or whatever may happen, and they just turn the other way and just run at a high aggressive rate. And it's just what the hell, and I just don't think, I think people see all these films, and I think they hear all these podcasts, and I think they see, they see what we've done, and they see how that we've been successful in the past, and they just think, well, what the hell happened great for them? How are they always successful? But I think a lot of times, and this is what we try to show a lot, is how many times we screwed up. So it teaches that guy, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't try to really edge that wind out, or maybe don't try to come in on this angle, or maybe try not to say this. There's just so many things, but every single elk is so much different. And it's just you can't predict exactly what's going to happen. And I think people, they set themselves up maybe for failure before they even start. And I think that's a lot of it, as far as just be willing to fail, because that's going to happen 9 times out of 10. And it's the realistic thing. I mean, Dirk and I've hunted with him a ton. We've hunted together a bunch, and we have failed numerous times together. Yeah, we've killed bulls and everything, and we've done all this stuff and everything. But at the same time, we've screwed up more times by a far amount than been successful.
How do you tell people to prepare to fail? Because I totally agree, Trent, with what you're talking about. But I think that's sometimes hard, and I don't know.
It's social media.
That's what I was going to say.
You should be perfect in everything,
media.
right?
Yeah.
You should be perfect
and
in everything.
Every bull you shoot is like a 300 bull and blah, blah, blah.
Quartering away, 320, quartering away, perfect heart shot. It is not true. It is not true, man. It's the realistic elk hunting side. It's the realistic thing, and that's the whole thing that I think people get in their minds, as far as, well, I'm just going to go get him out there. Dirk, all he did, he bugled twice on the film. The bull came running at him, and he shot it at 12 yards. That's a pretty easy game with a mouth tab. He didn't even have to use his arm. He could actually rest his right arm, and he could shoot it with a mouth tab.
How hard could it be?
Yeah, how hard could it be? That's freaking easy. You know what I mean? And I think people sometimes see these things and just be like, oh man, anybody can do it. And then when you go out there and see how difficult it is to actually do that, I think people start making excuses, and then it just goes down that bad road. I just think, I love social media. Don't get me wrong. This is why I have my job. But at the same time, I think it also can be a huge crutch.
Yeah, I think, man, you nailed it with that, and that's something we've been talking about on my show a little bit is, one of the questions I always ask is, do you think social media has the potential to destroy hunting? You know what I mean? Like, think about that in a lot of different ways, because we talk about elk season and we talk about what their motivation is to go hunting now. And sometimes I feel like there's people out there that the motivation behind why they're out there using a bugle tube and trying to kill an elk is because they want to have a cool picture to post on Instagram. You know what I mean? And that bothers me. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, and I think, it changes people's values, and changes their ideas of what successful hunting is. It's no different than the pictures of the Instagram models, whether you're a man or a woman. I mean, if Trent and I got on there more and people start looking at our bodies,
I appreciate that, Dirk. I really
they would be like, wow, that's what a real man looks like, and how can I ever measure up?
Yeah, I know, seriously.
But unobtainable.
It's an unobtainable beauty, and it's the same with hunting. I mean, you only get.
It's all airbrushed with you guys, I think.
Right, it is.
No, that's masculinity is what that is. Reeking with masculinity.
That's how babies are made.
Yeah, exactly how babies are made. Yeah.
But you on social, you always see the good side. Nobody really shows you, their bad shot, or they long arm their photos, or they don't want their buck to look smaller, their elk to look small. And I think it's kind of a trap, which I feel like also social media gives you such instant gratification. I want to see a picture of a big bull elk. You just swipe a little bit. Oh, there's one. Mm-hmm. And elk hunting is the furthest from instant gratification that there is. I mean, it's the people on social or on YouTube or whatever, they don't see maybe the hunts that we didn't record where, years ago before we started filming or whenever it was, or they just don't feel or see the grind of maybe going 9 days without hearing an elk bugle.
Yeah.
And then finally on the ninth day you hear one and you maybe kill one, maybe you don't. They don't see that. So that staying power is not there. So I feel like after a day or two they get disheartened. They feel like, oh man, I'm not doing it right, or this is never going to happen. I'm just going to go home. People give up. They got a lot of give up in them. And then they go home instead of like seeing it through. And I don't know how many times I've seen it through to the very end and have the very end, like the last little bit, it all come together. So I think folks need to, really hunt for the love of the hunt, not for the likes or whatever.
Not for the Insta fame.
Yeah. It's funny. Some asshole got on my Instagram the other day. I put a picture of me and Trent acting like idiots in our costumes. And he's like, oh, man, I used to follow you because I thought I might learn something, but looks like you're just posting stuff for likes. And
good call.
I had to kind of clap back a little bit at him. It's like, dude, if you're on here thinking that, you obviously haven't been following very long, because I don't give a shit about the likes. I just want to share my stuff. That if there's people that like it, cool, good. If you don't like it, that's okay, cool too. There's a lot of things I don't like, and I just don't follow it.
Yeah.
And not only that, Dirk, he obviously ain't learning much.
Yeah, seriously, because there's a side to that what you're saying, and this is what my feeling has been, especially with the whole social media thing. When I'm elk hunting, I absolutely want to notch a tag, right? And we all want the biggest bull we could find, but I mean, for me, I'll shoot a damn spike. I don't care. But getting back to what
at the same time, you just rewind just a little bit, and I don't mean to interrupt, but at the same time, a damn spike is a feat, man.
It is.
If you could probably talk to your audience right now and say, would you take a spike? I bet there would be a ton of hands raised.
Yeah. If it wasn't on social media.
No, I totally agree with you, but at the same time, it's just like a spike or any elk, any tag notch with an archery equipment and rifle for that matter, but with any equipment is a feat.
Yeah.
It's a feat to be done.
I totally agree.
100%. It just needs to be acknowledged as far as, it's just not like, and that's my biggest thing in this whole journey that we've done. It's just like, I'm going to take that 350 bull, which I've never killed anything over 300, to be honest with you, and to a 3-point Roosevelt that I worked my ass off for 2 weeks for, and they are the same trophy. It's the same trophy kind of status. And so I see a lot of people saying, oh man, it's just a spike, or it's just this, it's just that. You know what? To that guy that killed that animal, that could be the biggest trophy in his lifetime. And that's what social media has done. It's been to a point where it's just like, we don't go to your table and say, I killed this elk. That's amazing. No, we go on social media and say, yeah, you killed a spike. Wow. You killed a spike? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Why would you shoot a spike? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's separating the whole hunting community. And I think that's an issue.
It does. It creates these lines that people draw, and they're like these battle lines that happen on social media, right? And so somebody gets a spike. What people don't realize is the same amount of miles were put in as that 300 or north of 300-inch bull, with the exception of the high fence places. And the same amount of chafing, the same amount of dehydration, the same amount of pain and sore back and legs. And for me, it's knees. My knees are always like just a problem, and all that stuff that goes into it. And then getting back to what you guys were referring to earlier, Dirk specifically talking about you guys dressing up in those costumes. And one of the things that I think is lost because of social media is people going out and actually enjoying themselves while they're hunting. Hunting is supposed to be a thing that feeds a person's soul. I almost said a man's soul, but Dirk's on here. It's supposed to be what feeds a man's soul, and it's something that is just, it's been in the human mind and soul for as long as existence has. Humans have been in existence. I'm getting so excited I can't talk. I'm tripping over my own words here. and that's what happens. Because social media, that's why I think people are ornerier out in the woods. Have you guys noticed that over like the last 10 years? Hunters are ornerier with each other than they were 10 years ago. I remember back in like the 90s, when you saw another hunter on the mountain, it was hey, how you doing? You seeing anything? Having a good conversation, you make a new friend. Where now it's like they're pissed off that you're even there. Like they own the mountain. And everybody's so serious, and they don't get the full enjoyment out of what elk hunting is, or any kind of hunting for that matter, because they just go overboard. Not to say that you don't need to take elk hunting serious to be successful, because you certainly do, but have fun along the way. Am I off base?
100%.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, and that's what we've kind of started doing as far as just like bringing extra calls with us. And there was a time, like in Colorado 2 years ago, I think it was with me and Dirk. I think Dirk was there. We gave our bugle tube to a guy and taught him a lesson, kind of went through calling and stuff with him as we were out in the woods, and kind of said, okay, this is what we're doing and everything. As we were in the woods, and gave up a bugle tube and said, here you go. And hopefully that helps you out and everything. And no, not at all. I mean, I totally agree with you. It has changed, but it's just, I think it's how we all perceive it and how we go about it. And the future is gonna round it out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, we got kind of on a soapbox there. I apologize. That was my fault. But that's like I could do a whole podcast episode just on that topic, because I'm pretty fired up about it right now. But
you should,
Anyways, getting back, one of my motivations to getting you guys on together was I want to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of base camp hunting versus backcountry hunting. Backcountry meaning you're going in on your pack for multiple days. And that's how we'll define it for this episode, because there's a lot of different ways to define hunting in the backcountry, right? But for this episode, we're going to call it, if you're going in with a pack for multiple days, We'll call that backcountry hunting, and then like what I mainly do is base camp hunting. And I think that a lot of that has to do with what region of the West you're hunting. But I kind of want to get like you guys, Trent, are like the gurus of this backcountry hunting thing, and I think you like shed a lot of light that helped people understand that it's not this big mountain to climb to get out there and do it. It's doable. Anybody can do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I want to talk about that. Like for you guys, what is it about backcountry hunting and going in with everything on your back and going after elk? What is it that motivates you guys to do that, and what are the advantages of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. We approached it from a degree of, we thought if we came into, all we did is hunt Roosevelts, like I said, through our early years and everything. And so then we got into the Rocky Mountain hunting, and we thought, well, if we go further than anybody else, it should be easier, right? It should be less bulls that are called to all the time. It should be more responsive. It should be all of these things. And so we came at it from that point of view. And man, since I've done it, I've been privileged and blessed to do it for a number of years, meeting Dirk, and like, it was pretty cool. Like Dirk, we went on our first your first backcountry hunt, I think.
Yeah.
Dirk's first one, and it was like second nature to us. But at the same time, we both taught each other a boatload of things. And I don't know, I'll just ping it off Dirk here back and forth. But at the same time, it's just like we learned both that, guess what? Sometimes you don't need to do that, and sometimes you do. So it's one of those things.
Can I stop you right there, Trent?
Please do.
If you're anything like me, hunting is a year-round thing for you, and we're always thinking about how to make our next upcoming season a little bit better, and one way to do that is with gear. And you guys know I'm not a big gear junkie, but I do have some important gear items that I'm always a huge fan of, and they're right here available on this show. Let's talk about Scree gear. Scree is my go-to camo. Scree is high-performance hunting attire and gear, scientifically tested camo patterns, and all backed by a great company, and I wouldn't recommend it to you if I didn't truly believe in the Scree product. They've got a complete layering system for all terrain and conditions, gear designed to adapt to the weather. It's rugged gear. It's got a lifetime warranty, VIP sizing and exchange program. You can't go wrong with Scree. Get the best out there without breaking the bank, and to make it even better, use promo code The Western Huntsman for 15% off and free shipping. Hell of a deal. Check it out at ScreeGear.com. Next on the list is my oldest and fondest sponsor of the show is Phelps Game Calls. One thing I love about companies like Phelps Game Calls is the American success story that came out of it. And Phelps started in Jason Phelps' garage years ago, and it's now one of the premier hunting call companies on the market, and I wouldn't point you in that direction if I didn't feel like they were the best calls available. Jump on PhelpsGameCalls.com. When you find a call you like, use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off. I promise you, you will not regret it. Hoffman Boots. Hoffman Boots is a go-to boot company I've been using for years and years and years. And the cool thing about it is I'm only on my second pair of Hoffman Explorers. I put lots of miles on my Hoffman Explorers. They're a great boot. They're not going to cost you a small fortune to get. And they have all the same guarantees and warranties that every other company out there has. If you want to be confident, guys, do not skimp on boots. Go to HoffmanBoots.com. Get you a pair of, for me, I like the 8-inch Explorers, but they also have the 6-inch. They have all sorts of different options. Check it out at HoffmanBoots.com and use promo code Huntsman10, all caps lock, for 10% off. And last but not least is Tacticam. Are you interested in filming your hunt? And are you interested in helping with conservation efforts throughout the North American continent? Well, then I got a deal for you. Tacticam is a point-of-view type kind of camera that records in 4G. They also have other products like the Film Through Scope, the FTS, and you attach that to your rifle scope, and you can film your shot right there. And they have the mounts for your shoulder, for your head. You can mount it to your bow. You can mount it to wherever and whatever you want. Lots of versatility with the Tacticam. Other products include, but are not limited to, the fisheye camera. The Tacticam Spotter LR is definitely worth a look if you want to film what you're seeing through your glass while you're actively hunting and get it on camera. It's a great thing. But I think that the thing that I'm most excited about with Tacticam this year is the new Reveal cell cam that is coming out. This trail camera will send you images in real time as they're coming in. They've got like an enhanced antenna for better service. If you're like managing property or something like that, or you've got a bear bait set up somewhere that you have phone service, you can get those pictures right there to your phone. This cell cam is super, super cool. I'm really excited about it. And you can get all this at the westernhuntsman.com/gear. Go to the gear shop. You'll find all the Tacticam stuff right there. Best pricing out there on it. And what happens is we split the profitable revenue from these sales of the Tacticam gear, and half of it goes to conservation efforts, which vary depending on what quarter of the year it is. Right now we're raising money and trying to get some money over to Sportsman's Alliance. It's a great cause, and that is what's going to go down when you shop for Tacticam gear at thewesternhuntsman.com. So go over there and check it out and get you a camera. Guys, let's get back into it. I sure appreciate it. When you say that, sometimes you need to do that and sometimes you don't. In your mind, what is that differentiating thing? That's a big word for me. Like, okay, we're gonna go into the back country, or we're gonna base camp. Kind of what makes that decision for you? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I'll talk about like some of our early hunts, like Colorado over the counter. We went, we were base camp somewhere around 6 miles, somewhere in, and anyway, you are married to that spot. You are in there, and that's where you're hunting. Mm-hmm. And then when you kill something, luckily we hunt with a crew that's as big as we have, with 4 people plus, and we all grab a hunk of meat and we take it out and come back in. Then you're hiking back in. And I learned a lot from Dirk's point of view is with, we're mobile and we kill something. Usually they're hunting somewhere within 3 to 5 miles within camp. And so the biggest part is if you don't kill something, they're coming all the way out, right? They're hiking all the way out, and then they're sleeping at the truck or wherever, and then hiking back in the next day if they want to go to that same location. And so they're expending calories and miles and time going back in. We are already in there, right? Mm-hmm. And so it all depends on where the elk are and how far you need to go to get them. And I've learned a lot. So a lot of our videos in our early stuff, you're going to see us going 7 to 9 miles. My longest pack was Ty killed a bull at 12.5 miles in and packed that thing all the way out.
Ooh, I bet that was fun.
Yeah, it was 20 inches of snow at 10,500 feet in Colorado. It was a super fun. My feet still hurt from that pack out. And then I talked to Dirk, and he's like, "No, we killed it 1.5 miles from the road." I'm like, what'd you do? Excuse me? What'd you do? Yeah. So I have honestly adopted new ways of hunting in the last little while, where it's like, you don't, and I think Dirk can really elaborate on this, you don't have to go that far. I think, and we're going back to this social media thing, I think, again, as far as this, if you're not a backcountry hunter, you're not really hunting. You're not hunting. Yeah. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it right.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And if you're not, it's just one of those things where it's just like, well, why don't we just hunt 1.5 miles from the pickup and then kill stuff and then kill more stuff after that? And that sounds pretty cool. So I'll hand it over to Dirk, but we've done a lot of stuff for a long time, and it's go ahead, Dirk.
Yeah, you take it, Dirk.
So I think, and it's the allure to putting on a backpack and going deep, and that's sexy as hell, man. I mean, it's
I appreciate that.
I mean, you make that pack look good. But I think there's a lot of romance in that kind of hunting, and people kind of get hung up on that, especially a lot of new hunters. And I'm just going to say it, like, backpack hunting 8 to 10 miles away from your truck in the wilderness, that's level 10. That's level 10 on hardness, right?
Yes.
And especially for new folks. And I know, well, that's the experience I want, they'll say, but damn it, sometimes you have to crawl before you walk a little bit. Get some reps in on the easier type hunts, maybe towards that front country a little bit, maybe a little not so far in. I mean, people think you have to go super deep to kill elk consistently, but I'm living proof that that's not the case. I mean, most of my elk have come within a half mile of the pickup. So I feel like, there's that buffer zone, that 1 to 2 miles from the truck, that hold a lot of elk. And then people kind of go deep, and then they go through some stuff, and they get back deep. And then if you're looking at Colorado, for instance, those wildernesses are not that big. I mean, you hike too much further than 10 miles, 12 miles, you're going to come out on another road somewhere. Because
I've done that, Dirk.
Yeah, and that's how North Idaho is. I mean, people are like, oh, well, are you going to go backcountry hunting? Well, I've done that, and I'm not opposed to backcountry hunting, but I mean, there are so many logging roads and intersecting dirt roads and Forest Service roads and all these things. You can't go that far in my area. You can't. Right. You cannot go 10 miles. Well, I'm going to say that, and somebody's going to send me a pin. Oh yeah. Well, go here. I know there's units that have some areas that it makes sense, right, in the northern panhandle of Idaho. But I mean, when I used to hunt Utah, it was totally different. You can go for miles and miles and miles and not run into a soul or a road. So
or an elk.
Or an elk, yeah, no, very true.
And very true. That's my biggest hang up with a lot of the backpack hunting is you expend a lot of energy to get deep or to get, away from the road in some roadless country, only to find that, well, Doug Flutie and family been there and blew the place up the week before. Or it's, if you're in the states that have wolves, the wolves have got the elk clammed up or pushed them out.
There's other things though too, like in Utah. Utah's a super dry state, so if you go 10 miles back and figure out that there's no water source back there, you're done. You're done. You're going on a scenic walk. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing alive back there.
Yeah, that's New Mexico too.
Yeah,
we had to hunt close to the man-made water tanks, right? Because we'll just go deep. We'll go ahead, but the further deep you go, there's no water. And there may be some little tiny spring that nobody knows about, but hidden way back in the mountains. But most of those elk they're gonna hold closer to the water in those kind of places. So, you don't always have to get that deep. And I feel like people get that romantic idea. Kind of goes back to what we said before. They get this idea of what the elk hunt is going to look like. They walk in there 8 miles and don't hear a damn bugle one. And then they're totally deflating. They work their ass off to get there. They get there, now they're tired, haven't heard any elk, and there's no sign, and that's super deflating. And I don't know, maybe I don't even blame them. A lot of them just kind of hunt around there a little bit and then pack up and head home because it was a bad experience. So I always like to kind of be able to be mobile, with the ability to go deep. That is, I'm going to hunt in lots of different areas until I can find elk. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of elk in there. Cool. Well, now I can take my backpack in there and stay for a few days because I know there's elk there.
Yeah. And I think you guys both nailed it, because there is some nostalgic, there's that nostalgic side to backpack hunting. Yeah, and I recommend, people ask me about it a lot, and I do recommend, you got to try it. You got to just do it. Successful or not, there's something, I hate to sound cheesy, but there's something magical about hiking in several miles with nothing but what's on your back and staying a few nights and whatnot. But I think that there's a lot to be said for that. But there's also a lot to be said for, base camp and being mobile and knowing that you have plan A to Z in place. And so that leads me to the next question for you guys, which is what we're going to talk about. So whether you're base camped or whether you're in the backcountry camped, when you get either out of your truck or you pack up the tent in the morning, can you guys and Trent, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah.
First thing, and I don't want to talk about like the cat road shuffle yet, because I want to I want to talk about that here in a few minutes. But when you're getting out and you're going out first thing in the morning, kind of walk us through your process to locate elk.
To locate elk, where are we at? Like backcountry, or are we home turf? Where are we talking?
So let's talk about Rocky elk, Rocky Mountain elk.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be super different in Oregon, right? Like on those coastal Roosevelts. I've never hunted them, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's a smaller zone. It's a more confined. So yeah.
Let's say we're in Wyoming, because you guys have both hunted Wyoming. So we'll talk about Wyoming and pick on them for a minute, because I always pick on Idaho.
I love it. Yeah. So no, we're getting out, and you mentioned cat road shuffle, so it can't really, you already got my mind spaced on that a little bit. But we do and I think Dirk can attest to this. We do the same damn thing every single time. We're going to locate. We're going to locate. We're going to locate. We're going to locate. We're going to locate.
And when you say locate, you're saying locate bugles, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're just going to try to find a biter. So, and we hunt different, and I think Dirk can attest to this too. I think we hunt different than like a Cameron Haynes or somebody that doesn't call, that just tries to find a bugling group of bulls or something and sneak in on them.
Sure.
We get off on hunting a bull that wants to call, and whether it be a 350-inch 6x6 or whether it be a 3x4 Roosevelt that just thinks he's the king of the mountain, we are going to key on whatever he has to say. So we're going to go in, and we're just going to honestly bugle our brains out. I mean, and when we say we bugle 200 times a day, it's not a joke. I mean, people think, yeah, what the hell are you guys doing? That's not a joke. That's what we do. That's what we do.
So
we are looking for someone wants to play the game.
So we're kind of dancing all around it here. Let's talk about this cat road shuffle real quick then. Can you explain what the cat road shuffle is? And you guys have called it the playbook and all these different things on your channel. And it's proven to be pretty effective. Can you kind of walk the audience through that?
Yeah, and I think Dirk does the same thing. I mean, it's the same exact thing. It's going and calling every 50 yards, honestly. So where I'm at, like on the western coast and everything, and the Roosevelt Woods, there's so much broken up country, ridges and draws, and there's so much broken up country that you're all you have is sound. That's all you have is where your sounds reach. And so it's bugling to all those different ridges. So yeah, we go 50 yards, we bugle 3 to 4 times. We do different sets of bugles. So the cat road shuffle starts out with a high pitch or whatever you want as far as bugle. And then you go into, okay, a bugle and a chuckle. And then, okay, and you wait. And then you go into another sequence of whatever the calls may bring. And I think Dirk can attest to the same thing. It's like every bull wants to hear a certain sound and will bugle back to a certain sound. So it could be high scream. It could be just a chuckle. It could be some certain nuance of a bull's, repertoire, if you will, and they will bugle back. All we're looking for is a response. And then after we get that response, then everything's, goes into motion. Where's he at? What's he looking like as far as benches? What's he looking like for topography? What's the wind looking like? And then we just, we judge it from there, going through the whole sequence of motions. But that's the cat road shuffle. Like we go down cat roads just because that's the easiest way to get into all these draws and canyons and small, holes and everything. And that's why we call it the cat road shuffle, is because Yeah, Dirk and he's doing the same thing in the Rocky Mountain woods that we're doing, but we're just doing it more often.
Okay, so the one clarifying question with that one, Trent, is when you're saying every 50, 100 yards or whatever you're calling, when you stop and call, are you letting out like one bugle, two bugles, cow calls, kind of what is the?
Like I said, we're starting out with a whole sequence. So we'll start with a bugle. No response. Okay, let's start with a bugle and a chuckle. All right, no response. Let's start with a bunch of cow calls. So as we're working down a cat road, we will be cow calling pretty much not all the time, but a lot of the time that actually has enough brush around us that it's not that we're just, we can move around it to where it's not, it's not obscuring the sound that we can hear. So we'll call as we go down that cat road, and sometimes just a cow call. The certain cow call will get that bull to bugle. And a Roosevelt bull, and if you can get him to bugle, if you can get him to sound off, I mean, there's a good chance that you can get on him. So it's one of those things where it's just like all we're trying to do is get him to sound off. And so we'll do everything. We will do a long bugle. We'll do a high pitched bugle. We'll do a chuckle. We'll do all sorts of different cow calls. We'll do all sorts of different sounds. If we can get him to sound off and then he gives away his location, then we can actually pinpoint him and then look at where we can get to get in and get him.
Gotcha. Dirk, is there anything that differs in your hunting style?
It's very similar. And I call a lot as well. And I kind of say I'm calling. I don't think Trent does this either, but we're kind of calling with purpose, right? I think we're just not indiscriminately walking along calling, but you're looking at topographical features, draws, ridges, places where how far is my bugle permeating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it penetrating? Is it going to go up on that ridge? Is it going to go down to that draw? I may bugle and walk 50 yards, bugle again, just because the terrain and the topography is opened up where it's like, oh, there's a little nook down there I didn't bugle into as good, and which is crazy because I've had it, I don't know how many times. I've seen it 100 times, Trent.
Seen it 1,000 times. 1,000 times.
That you can't hear a bull bugle unless you're standing in the right spot, and you walk Correct. 50 yards away, you can't hear them. So people, there's this big misconception out there that people say, oh, don't you call way too much. And there's a couple different schools on this whole calling thing. There's the guys that are like, oh, you be called very sparingly, and then there's the guys like us that call a lot. And the problem is the guys that call sparingly and don't call hardly at all. I mean, I know guys that'll get out of their truck, they'll strap on their pack, they'll start walking, they'll walk for an hour, let out a couple calls, they don't hear nothing, they walk right back to the truck.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I know
legit.
Exactly who you're talking about. I know guys like that too.
I mean, there's legitimate people that do, and that they say, that's the way they were taught, or that's how Grandpappy did it, or whatever, call sparingly. But me, on the other hand, I'm calling from the time I leave my truck. I've had bulls answer me as soon as I close my door, and calling a bull super close to the truck. I've had them, not hear nothing for 3 miles. But you don't know unless you're sending it. You're sending those bugles out there. It's kind of like fishing. When you go fishing, you don't just 100%. Cast your line in there once and reel it in like, well, there's no fish here. No, you cast behind every rock, right? There's all these little rocks in the stream. You cast behind every one because guess what? That's where the fish are going to hang out. Well, you're going to cast into these little draws with your bugles and up on these ridge lines and all these different places because that's where the elk live. And they may not be able to hear you, especially like in Trent's country. It's so damn thick, and in that country, your bugles just don't penetrate. So you have to call a lot. And I think that's where people kind of go wrong on Roosevelts. I don't know a damn thing about it, but just common sense to me says you got to call a lot if in that kind of country because your bugles don't penetrate. And if you want, you may walk right by an elk and they'd never heard you if you weren't calling.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to interrupt just a hair. Dirk, you're going to know Roosevelt's here shortly at some point because you're going to shoot one.
I better.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time is we related it to kind of a fishing point of view, but at the same time as think about going down a river, right? And each hole has fish in it, but there's certain fish that are hungry, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be your biters. And so we're going to go through a whole canyon on this Cat Road Shuffle that we talked about. We're going to go through a whole draw or a whole canyon or a whole ridge system, and we're going to bugle, and we're going to just, we're going to make ourselves known the whole way. And we're looking for a biter. We're not looking for that trout or whatever you want to call it in the fishing aspect that just doesn't want to bite, that doesn't want to play the game. We are looking for a biter. We're looking for the bull that wants to play the game and that's in the right mood. So we may pass by and not knowingly, honestly, I don't know, half a dozen, maybe, who knows how many elk that you pass by that hears that bugle that doesn't want to respond. But we are looking for that bull or that fish, if you will, that wants to be the biter, that wants to play the game.
Yeah. And that leads me to one question with that, because you know how you'll be going along and you're bugling here and there, and you know how you get these different types of responses from different types of bulls, like they have different personalities or whatever.
100%.
What do you guys do? And I've been asking everybody this because I had this happen to me a lot last year, where it hasn't happened as much in years past. But that just super, super lazy moan you get back, like, and it's like they're not even trying. They did not bring their A game. They're just kind of moaning at you. And then you get the ones that are like super feisty and way fired up when you just drop a little locate bugle and like they're kind of ripping mad already. You know what I mean? And then you have the in-betweens. My question to you guys is, and again, this is strictly kind of a selfish question because I got this a lot and I couldn't figure out how to, change what I was doing to get any more than this. But that moany bull, what are you guys doing when you hear that?
Well, Dirk, go ahead.
Well, what I do is, back in the old days, I used to try to go at them just like I wanted at every other elk.
Uh-huh.
I would, he moany bugled me a couple times. Cool. So I beat feet up there and try to almost step on him and try to, and then get super close and then start bugling at him and try to get him wound up, as I would like if a bull was wound up, let's say a bull that was wound up, I didn't differentiate between the two. Nowadays, I've kind of changed my tactics now that I'm older and wiser. I slow play those things. So
walk us through that, Dirk.
So that moany old bull, I'm like, okay, well, I'll wait a little bit and then I'll kind of do a moany old bugle. And this may take 2 hours of this back and forth moany bugles, He sits over there,
yeah.
He's probably in his bed.
Yep.
But I've found that if he'll answer me, which a lot of them will, and if I'm just doing that same kind of moany bugle, after a while, after about an hour of screwing with that thing, they get kind of pissed off. They're like, hey, you shut up over there. And you'll hear it in their voice. And their voice will be, their bugle will change. Yeah, their bugle will change into a normal, like full bugle. And whenever he does that, I'm just like, oh yeah, I got it now.
So are you moving? Are you moving when you're responding, or are you just staying in the same spot and just kind of moaning back every few minutes?
I get to a spot that's, good for me to shoot, good for for my scent, good for everything. But I'm not like pushing up on him hard. No, I'm giving him his space. I'm letting him get worked up. I want him to get pissed off and lose his cool before he ever knows what happened. I want him to make that big mistake of getting mad and getting blind rage to where he finally just comes over there to fight. But by then it's too late. He commits and he'll come in. But, it may take, I've done it. It's taken like this one bull. I did it for 2 hours. He was across this big canyon and I had nothing else going on. And I was in pretty deep to where if I'd hike back out to the truck, then it was kind of late in the day. Well, it's 2:00, but it'd have been hard to find another elk before it got dark. So sure. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to play with this bull for a while and just see if I can get him wound up, or maybe some of those others that aren't biters, maybe they'll kind of turn on. So he bugled back and forth for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden his bugle changed. It's like, okay, he got out of bed and he bugled like he's mad, a little bit mad. So I escalated my bugle to match his a little bit. And pretty soon his bugle escalated a little bit more. He got sound a little madder, and I gave him another one about the same. I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to just rip his head off with a big nasty bugle. I was just trying to match him. And before he knew it, he was on his way. And he crossed the canyon and come up, and I shot him.
Huh. And so you didn't, again, I know it's kind of getting repetitive, but you didn't move from that spot. You just stayed there and waited for him to come in. And once he got pissed off, did you start moving at that point, or?
I moved around to make sure I had everything to my advantage, as far as shooting lanes, wind, and stuff. But another way you can do that same thing, especially if you have another person with you, is one guy do the talking, keep that thing talking, and your partner, he goes on the sneak. He starts sneaking in on that thing.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of triggered a couple of questions here. Not that I'm triggered, but you guys, when you're talking about, how do I ask that? That's not the right way. A lot of the discussions for this School of September series have been centered around people's opinions, and people get really strong opinions, and I don't think there's any necessity to have a strong opinion on this, but because both ways work, right? But the whole discussion of are you trying to be a lover or a fighter? And I kind of already know the answer with you guys. Well, it's not kind of. I know the answer with you guys. But there's a lot of successful elk hunters that are more that lover kind of cow call them in kind of thing. Can you guys talk about that for a minute?
Go ahead, Trent.
Here's the deal. I'm a lover. No, the way I think, I think you pin-pegged it as far as like Dirk and I, we're coming in for a fight. And we talked about the Cat Road Shuffle a bunch and everything, and that's just trying to locate. That's all we're trying to do is locate. And I think Dirk and probably my team as well, we are a super aggressive, very aggressive to where we go about calling. We are looking for a biter. We're looking for the one that wants to play the game that we want to play, and we're going to go in there. And there is a good chance if we can find that bull in that mood, there's a high percentage chance we're going to shoot him, right? Dirk made a great point just a little bit ago as far as we've had a new term that we call slow playing. And that's what he was referring to, is like sometimes you have to sit a bull out and just kind of just sit there and just let him do his thing in his bed. And you'll hear a labored chuckle or a labored bugle like you were talking about and everything. And then we're going to slow play that bull. We're going to sit back and we're just going to just find out what pushes that bull's buttons. And so I don't think I answered a question at all that you asked.
No, you did. Totally.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where we are going to actually just key everything off of what we hear and just try to push that bull's buttons and to get him to do exactly, to just get wound up. All we want is him to get wound up and just to let down a little bit of his guard.
So slow play, meaning like, okay, you're gonna sit over there, maybe throw some chuckles out, a couple of bugles, and maybe some cow calls. Are you doing like this? I'm a cow and I'm in heat. Oh my God, you've got to come see me.
Well, no, we've already got him to bugle. So we're sitting way back, and we got that labored bugle that you were talking about, right?
Uh-huh.
So
yep.
we heard him just kind of let out something small. And we're like, okay, there's a bull there. Guaranteed. That's an elk. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's sit back. Okay. So, and we always talk about, we do anyway, as far as we kill most of our bulls from 11 till 2 o'clock in the middle of the day. And
really? You've got that too, huh?
Yes. And that's if you're on the herd there. That's if you're on the herd and his cows go to bed, he feels comfortable with where they are, and then he's going to come at you and he's going to actually give you a visual. And then that's where we kill him. But if not, If he's going to lay in his bed and he's just going to just kind of just project back to you these chuckles or these just low moans or something like that, okay, I know where he's at. I know where he's doing. I know he's going to get up somewhere around, 6 o'clock, wherever, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I need to get my wind right. I need to do that. But at the same time, I'm gonna figure out what to say to him to get him to come check me out. And so just knowing where the bull's at is half the battle. And then after that, getting him wound up to getting him to come into you is the next big front that you have to worry about.
Okay.
It's kind of like an experiment, right? We experiment to see what the elk like. So whatever he's responding to, we're going to keep feeding that stuff to him, right? But in my mode of operation, as far as lovers and fighters and stuff, some guys they hit the cow call hard and more than anything. But I feel like I want to appeal to his will to breed. But most importantly, I want to appeal to his emotions, to where he gets so pissed off that he'll let his guard down and come in to fight. I feel like that's a much stronger emotion than to breed a lot of times, because a lot of bulls, they got more than one cow over there. So you squawking on a cow call a whole bunch. He's got 15 of them laying there. Why would he want to come over there for one more?
That's
right?
always been something I've thought about, because like you guys, I've always had better success at calling in elk by pissing them off.
Right.
But I have friends that are a lot more successful than I am, that tag out every year, that cow call them in. They don't even touch it. Some of them don't even use a bugle. It's crazy.
They're liars. They're liars.
Well, sometimes that's how I feel. Like, how do you even do that?
No, they don't like elk hunting at all, and they don't like the heat of the chase. They just like killing something.
The only time that's ever, and Dirk, I think I told you this story, but last year I was just kind of messing around, cow calling, and I wasn't getting any response, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, oh man, I have phone service, so I'm texting my wife. I'm on top of this mountain texting my wife, and I hear a twig break. I turn around, and the one and only time in my entire life that I've seen a bull elk with a drop tine is standing 25 yards from me staring at me, and I blew it, and he busted out. That's the only time I've ever had an elk come in, and I was barely even trying, on a cow call.
Right. Well, that's what you'll find typically is, not always typically, but sometimes bulls will bugle their head off, come into a cow call, and sometimes they won't. But I haven't had a lot of luck with it, because a lot of times they'll only come so far, and then they want you to come the rest of the way. They're like, okay, here I am, come over here. Or maybe it's a young bull or just a quiet bull, and they'll sneak in on you, and they're very cautious. They come in, pins and needles, they're looking, they're sniffing, you may never even see it, because you may come in and wind arc you and get your win.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you appeal to their emotion to fight, then a lot of times they'll come straight into you. They don't do no wind arcs. They get so mad, they're going to come straight in. And I want to give them a reason to fight. So I do a fair amount of cow calling in my bugling scenario, depending on how he reacts. If he bugles to my cow calls, then every time he bugles in my cow calls, I'll cut him off with a big nasty bugle. But if he doesn't answer my cow calls much, I'll kind of just throw a few out here and there, just so he knows that if he comes over and fights me, then there's good reason he's going to take some cows home with him.
Yeah.
So I try to kind of go with that. But I mean, like I say, there's probably guys that kill elk with hoochie mamas every year. I mean, who's to say they don't?
I really appreciate that, Dirk.
Sorry,
I appreciate that.
But I mean,
what's wrong with a hoochie mama?
Stranger things have happened, right? But a lot of these guys that say, "Oh, all you got to do is cow call them in." My first question is, how many elk you killed in the last 10 years? Okay, and where was it? Was it public land? There's a lot of questions to that, but I feel like there's more than one way to skin a cat, for sure. So I'm not going to discount it 100%, but for me, what works is kind of that game I play. I've kind of tried a lot of the different things over the years, and just kind of keep the ones in my bag that keep consistently work.
Well, I always look at it like, you were talking about, you want to appeal to their need to breed, right? But the need to breed is all going to tie into protecting the cows that he knows are there. And so fighting is part of that need to breed. And so I don't know. I'm just a simple dude. So I think about things,
Right.
and I'm no animal behavioralist, but I just know that I can piss them off. And so that's always been my thing. One thing that I keep having to kind of back up a little bit, but I want to clarify, or not clarify, but I want to ask you guys both about what your opinion is. I don't know if I want to put it in terms of like success rate or just a preference thing about and I get this question a lot, hunting solo or hunting with a partner for September elk. Trent, you want to take that first?
Yeah, that's not even a question. Hunt with a team, bottom line.
So why?
Just because, I mean, as far as if you can get a team that knows a little bit about calling and then sound like a herd. And so obviously we're filming every single thing that we do. So we usually hunt in teams of usually at least 4. And so we've got a shooter, we have a cameraman, and then we have a caller, and possibly 2 callers if we can, but then a cameraman that's filming the caller. So we try to hunt in big teams, and it makes us more successful, and that's just around the board as far as that goes.
You feel like for you, you've been more successful because of having a team behind you.
100%. When we hunt in a team, and when we have like a goal that we already have established, like, okay, we're going to go in, we got a bull bugling, everybody does their role in the whole thing. I mean, herds of elk are big. You got to figure, you are just, we're breaking sticks. We are jumping on. I mean, I just remember when Dirk called that bull for me and landed the free 1.0. I mean, he came out of that scenario with bruised, bleeding. He was bleeding from both legs. He fell down in a giant patch of sticks. I mean, he was acting like a whole herd of elk himself.
Man,
and that's
you're
what
kicking
convinced
Dirk's ass when you take him with you, man. What's going on with
I
that?
try to as much as possible.
Dirk,
But
it's not safe anymore, dude.
It's not. No, it's not a safe place. But I mean, he came out of there and he called that bull into what, I don't know, 14, 17 yards or something like that. But I mean, it was just like what he done. He was mimicking a whole herd of elk. Elk are not small. They're giant animals. And so if you're going to mimic what they are doing, and you have to bring the heat. It's not this petite. It's not tippy-toeing. It's not any of that. It's bringing it.
Dirk, what say you, man?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the most deadly if I'm by myself. And
go ahead.
And I feel like it's this weird mindset I get in to where, okay, I got nobody. I don't have to be like, hey, you want to go over here? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't have to have that conversation. I just I do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, wrong, right, or indifferent, then all the decisions that are made are on me. So I feel like I'm a little more confident by making those decisions by myself. And I don't know. I just feel like I feel really good about hunting by myself. But I will say, hunting with a team or other people that are very in tune to you and your hunting style, then that's pretty deadly too. Like Trent was saying, I mean, if you guys all know the same goal and to make the moves to make it all the right times, then that's really deadly too. So
yeah, it's always a good topic. I feel like we could do an entire podcast episode just on this topic because, Dirk, I'm with you. In terms of hunting solo, for me, I feel like I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a preference thing or if there's just something about let me put it to you this way. I've called a lot more elk into bow range by myself than I ever have with somebody with me. And
right.
and I like the feeling of being out there by myself, and it's like it's me against the wild. However, I do get lonely sometimes. I'm not an antisocial guy. That's not why I hunt social. I mean, come on, I do a podcast. I like people. I want to be out with friends, and I want to go out with people. I think one of the things, and this is changing in the last few years, but for most of my life, I've had a lot of friends that talk a big game about how much and how often and how hard they want to hunt until it actually comes down to hunting season. And then they have every excuse in the book why they don't want to go. And so it's been this thing that's just circumstantially I've always ended up alone. Again, that's changing. But I think that I've just never, well, Trent, what I think I'm saying, I've never hunted elk with somebody on like you and Dirk's level, right? I'm always... Yeah, it's there's just a big difference in experience level, and so it's not as enjoyable as when I go out by myself. Does that make sense?
No, my only advice there would be you just need to get better friends.
Dude, my friends listen to this sometimes. Well, they say they do. They claim they do. I don't know. I don't know.
If they do, take a note.
I wish they could, like when you record a podcast, it tells you who's downloading it. All it does is tell me how many downloads it is. It doesn't tell me who's downloading it. I know. I want to know if my mom's lying to me when she says she listens to my podcast. I want to know. What, I know we're kind of going a little bit long here, guys, but I do have some... Like, I don't know if it's, I usually call it the rapid fire or lightning round or whatever. Give us your take real quick. Dirk, this might be a bit repetitive for you. Hunting a full moon. What do you guys say?
I'll hunt it. I ain't scared.
Okay.
There's certain situations with hot, dry, full moon. Yeah, that it's going to limit the amount of time elk spend on their feet in the daytime. Mm-hmm. But I found during those times, midday madness, as I call it, hunting that 12 o'clock hour, 12 or 1 o'clock. If you know where the elk are bedding at, then getting close to there in that midday time or late or evening time when they start getting up and moving around has just been deadly. I mean, I've killed a lot of bulls, but I've done that also in non-full moon time. So I feel like it works even better during a full moon. And here's my reasoning. Those bulls go to bed pretty early, right? They get to bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sun comes up, they're heading to the hills and bedding down right away. And maybe even earlier than that. So by 12 o'clock, they've been sitting around, they've been laying around. A bull elk has got only one thing on his mind during that time of year. So he's going to get tired of laying up. He's going to go start sniffing old Betty Sue and Mary Lou and all the other cows there to see if he can find one that's ready to breed.
Is that their name? Is that their official names? Or
I have to think so. Maybe I don't know.
You have to check with the county.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Check with the county. That's what I found out about buying a house. Check with the county.
But once they get up, they're going to get up and check the herd. They're going to check waiting for that one female that's going to start making that sweet smell that they've been waiting for all September. But if they don't find it, they're going to probably walk around, rub their horns, maybe even go sneak off for a splash and a wallow. But if you're there in that 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock hour, then that bull, he's ready to do something. He's kind of bored. And if you can get close and threaten his herd and say, hey, I'm going to come in there and steal your women, a lot of times those things will come flying out of there. And they're very vulnerable to that. They want to stop. I mean, you don't stop if you can, you're not going to stop the crackhead once he opens the door into your house. If you can, you're going to kick him off the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm going to be the crackhead on the sidewalk.
You get a lot of crackheads down there in Boise, or what's going on with this?
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking about the wrong side of the tracks back in Weeyipe. No. Back when old Doug Flutie used to come over to the house.
I'm pretty sure there's only like one side of the track in Weeyipe, Idaho. Okay?
It's all bad.
No.
So I'll answer that just in a really short thing. Is the moon's going to do what it does. The state of Oregon or the state of Idaho or whatever gives you that many days to go hunting elk. You get your ass off the damn couch. Go out there and hunt them. I don't care what the moon phase. I don't care what the rain phase or whatever the hell that you have in your way, go hunt them, and you're going to learn something every single time. And we've killed bulls on full moons, short moon, small moon, whatever the hell it is. Yeah, it's just
what is a short
go hunting. Yeah, it is. There's a phase, actually. I think it's in the polar eclipse.
Yeah, look at that. Read it.
Only a mooniologist would know this.
I don't know if you'd understand it.
No, I
wouldn't understand it.
I wouldn't.
Read a damn book, Jim. Come on.
Yeah, read a book.
Guys,
Yeah,
you're like really setting the bar high for a man of my stature. I don't read. I don't even know how to read.
My whole thing is just go hunting. You've got you only have a month to do it. And don't ever look at a moon phase and say, "Oh man, the moon phase is off." Yeah, well, that means you're off. Go hunting. Go hunting.
So I love that answer, Trent. I couldn't agree more with both your guys' answer, because it's just that's why I like having you guys like you on the show. That is, there's no, we're not hyping up something with ulterior motives. This is just realistic experience talking, right?
Right.
And that's what I really like about you guys. And like along those lines, do you guys have? And I'm sure you know this pretty well, Trent, with having a podcast and all the content that you put out in general. Just I guess you get a lot of gear questions, right?
Yeah.
I am not a gear junkie. I am not. Dirk, you'd be proud, man. I finally broke down and bought a bow a couple days ago.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Good job.
I have been hunting with the same bow for over a decade, and I am not a gear guy. For me, there's a few things that are super important. Do you guys have what is outside of your bow, outside of your weapon? Let's kind of broaden it. Whether you're hunting muzzleloader, rifle, bow, whatever. Outside of your weapon, what do you think is a piece of gear that people should not chintz out on?
Toilet paper, dual ply.
Like
Charmin? Yeah.
Wet wipes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Steve Howard, my partner in crime. Yeah. Dual ply toilet paper is number one.
I'm feeling it, man. That's sound.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, I feel like, boots. I mean, people put a lot of money in all these other things, but man, if you don't have good boots that are comfortable and that don't rub, if they rub blisters on your feet, you're going to go home. You need a pair of boots that don't rub blisters on your feet. They're comfortable. They're waterproof. They have enough.
And Dirk said it the most. I mean, it's the staples, right? It's the, for one, it's the boots. Dirk nailed it. For two, it's your sleeping bag. If you're cold at night, if you're miserable, you're not going to stay out there. So you have to be warm at night, and it's your clothing. I mean, if you're comfortable in your clothing, you're comfortable on your feet, guess what? I'm going to stay as long as it needs to take. And then from there, I mean, it's just the small things, sharp knife, all this stuff, can come into play. But yeah, it's going to be your boots, it's going to be your clothing, and it's going to be your bedding.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Because if you go home, you're out.
Yeah. No excuses.
Other than people that have matured to a point of my level where we don't worry about sleeping bags because we have a trailer heater.
I love that.
I'm just saying.
I love that.
No, I'm totally kidding. That.
No, you're not.
Well, okay, I'm not. No, I tent camped recently, and that was the first time in many years, huh, Dirk? First time in many years for me. Didn't know what to do with myself, but
that's awesome.
The crap, man, you just said something, and I really want to ask that question because it's so pertinent to what you guys talk about all the time.
Is spend your money on tags and not gear.
Spend money on tags and not gear. Expand on that while I think of what I was actually going to ask you.
Well, I feel like there's a certain amount of gear, of course, that you need to go elk hunting, but you don't need to have the latest and greatest little whippersnapper thing every single year. A lot of us, I know Trent included, and we're in the industry, but we still are we add little things to our gear every year, but you don't have to run out and buy $5,000 worth of gear the first year. hunt with what you got. I mean, shit, I hunted in tennis shoes when I first had started hunting. The first 5 years of my freaking life, bow hunting elk was in tennis shoes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Air Jordans,
run
right?
what you brung. Yeah, run what you brung, guys. I mean, you don't have to have the most expensive gear. Whatever it is you got, run with it.
100%.
I will say, those other things that are going to make you hunt more comfortably, make you stay longer, be more effective, but you're just going to have to be tougher, sometimes.
Yeah.
But spend your
100%.
money on tags, people. It's funny. I used to work with some guys, and I'd go to Wyoming hunting. They'd be like, "Oh, it must be nice." I'm thinking, must be nice. I mean, well, I don't know. You got an $80,000 truck, and I don't. You drink mochas. You drink mochas from the mocha stand every single day of the week. I don't know. If you cut out those mochas, you could easily pay for your trip to Wyoming and then some. So I guess it's priority.
I hate that saying. Oh, it must be nice. I hate that. Like, people that say that, you have no idea what it took for me to achieve or obtain this. Don't tell me it must be nice. It must be nice for you to live in a country where you have the same opportunity. Anyway, we're getting way off on a rant on that one. Don't even get me started. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
All right, guys. Let's just
That's all
backtrack.
right.
Oh, that's what the question was. This is for both of you guys to answer. Camo paint or no camo paint?
That's an easy. That should be an easy one.
Depends. It depends if it's a group painting or not, because it depends if there's preconceived notions or not. Yeah, that was crap, Dirk. That was crap.
Preconceived notions.
That was crap.
Man.
Okay, and I don't care about who knows it. No, I am a dirtbag. I'll just be honest with you. I can live. I've went 53 days with 2 different showers, and those weren't showers. Those were just bathing in the creek for 53 days straight. So I can do just about.
Trent, I knew we'd get along, brother.
I can do just about anything. Dirk, on the other hand, the finer things in life are like touching my face, and he sculpted me like a beautiful painting. So
Are you guys gonna hunt together this year, or is that not in the cards this year?
We'll
or can
see.
you not
We'll
say?
see.
Can you not say? Okay.
No,
We can't say yet. We can't say yet, but it may or may not happen.
I can tell you right. I can't even say if I'm even hunting this year. I mean, it's still up in the air. I mean, we're seeing. But no, that's awesome. I think the camo paint thing. So I've tried it before, Trent. You'd be proud, man. I like totally rambled up one time.
Yeah, you'd be shocked on how many 100,000 views that stinking painting scene's gotten. It's unbelievable.
It was worth it. I wasn't kidding. I feel like that was like one of the most epic YouTube video hunting channel series ever. So, no, that was awesome, man.
Dirk was awesome.
And I feel like it was kind of like one of those people that you hear about that experiment while they're away to college, it only happened one time. It was kind of an experiment, so I'm not really much of I haven't painted my face since.
So you're not going to revisit
that.
Everybody wanted us to replay it at Western. Remember that Western High Expo? We had money. We had actually money wanted to throw down for people to redo it, and we never did it.
Oh,
I think we need to do a face painting booth.
You should.
Charge people to come and we'll paint their faces.
Travel to all the different county fairs all summer to raise money for good tags and good gear, and do a face painting booth. It would sell, man. I'll help you promote it. For a nominal fee, I'll promote that on the Western Huntsman podcast right here.
I'm all in.
So you guys, getting, I don't know, not getting back to being serious, but Gosh, you guys totally threw me off with the whole face painting thing. God damn it.
I apologize. Yeah, you're not gonna see us in serious mode probably at all.
Ever.
Podcast.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Well, Trent, why don't we start rounding this out? Why don't you tell us where people could find you, find Born and Raised, find all the things about Born and Raised that people should know, and what I need to put on the show notes, all that kind of stuff.
You already said it, man. Born and Raised Outdoors. Yeah, everything, which is everything. Yeah.
Like you have Instagram, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I get posted on there every once in a while. Yeah, just Instagram. I don't know. Dirk, what is it? Born and Raised Outdoors, right?
Yeah,
I
I think
so.
it's just Born and Raised Outdoors.
Yep.
And I think you even have your personal Instagram. I mean, you've kind of neglected that lately, but
I have neglected. I want to get back to that, Dirk. I want to really, take that edge out of that. But at the same time, I haven't done anything. So I'll be honest with you. I'm going to let Dirk take that over at some point.
I might as well.
He might as well. Dirk's pretty good.
Well.
Dirk's pretty good at that stuff,
Dirk's
man.
damn good.
Yeah.
Dirk's damn
when
good.
I have like a deep social media question, I call up Dirk. I'm like, dude, how do I?
100%.
Because I'm a
100%.
disaster with it. So, Dirk, how about you, man? Where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, The Bugler, one word. And then YouTube, I got some videos on there. All my new content on YouTube is going to go on the Phelps Game Calls channel, and you can see me there.
Sounds good, man.
Sweet.
Well, I am super excited about seeing what's coming out with you guys in the future. I'm really looking forward to what content you guys bring this fall, Trent. It's always like a great way when we all kind of fall into this post-hunting season depression, what I call it. It's nice having these videos coming out because it's almost perfect timing. Other than I think last year you started putting them out right in the middle of whitetail rut for me, and I was a little bummed I couldn't catch up until December, but
I apologize. I don't even know what the hell whitetail rut is.
Well, I tell you what, we're gonna have words after we get off here because we gotta hold off till after whitetail rut next year. All right. And that's a new thing for me too, man. This whole whitetail thing is brand new for me, but I'm loving it. So,
Sweet.
You guys, thanks again for coming on. Guys, check out Born and Raised Outdoors on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and also the Bugler at Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and also Phelps Game Calls. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. I believe, Dirk, that is the oldest sponsor of this here podcast, is Phelps Game Calls. So you should tell everybody how you're honored.
Wow, super honored.
Super honored. And so, you guys, thanks again for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. I think people are going to get a lot out of it, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Yep, sounds good.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We sure appreciate your support. This is Jim Huntsman signing off and reminding you to check us out at Instagram at The Western Huntsman and on Facebook at The Western Huntsman. And you can also check out the website at thewesternhuntsman.com. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.